So I moved the jump out of the way so that I could show you a little bit of how the HP6v2 plane works, since I got the sides all dimensioned on the jump earlier. Now what I was considering doing is I'd like to add a corner cove. Now one of the profiles that this plane does, and I'll show you the plane system here in just a moment, is that you can put a cove on the actual corner edge of the board. Now I did do a little bit of a sample run here to show you. This is just on an offcut, so it's not even a nice piece, but you can see the cove that's done just on the edge. And it's actually very easy to do, even though this is a very small piece to manipulate. Now, this is the HP6v2. What it is it's a body of a plane, but it doesn't come with any blades or any sole. What you're going to need to do is you pick up different sole kits. So this would be an iron and sole kit, and this pair of iron parts ends up forming the whole base of the plane. Now this is profiled to match the profile that you're cutting, and then it comes with a profiled blade that goes along with it. So this is actually the one that we're going to be using. I'll show you that in a moment. Now these other profiles, like I showed you the two dado ones, and then there are a few other profiles that we have back here. Where I showed you the corner cove, there is actually a corner bead that we have back here that'll put a beaded radius on the wood instead. So, but I decided I wanted to do a cove because I was thinking that I'd like the cove to swoop in down onto the inside of the box, since the outside is going to be flush with the edges of the jewelry box. So that's what we're going to do with this one here. Now, this is a version 2 plane because this one here is the version 1. Now, what the difference is on the bottom of this, you can see that again, the sole attaches to the bottom of the version 1, but there's 4 screws on each portion. Now, that's just a little bit slower to switch out if you're trying to take really great advantage of the switching. What they did with the V2 is that they've created dovetail ways. So what happens here is I can loosen this up to be able to show it a little bit easier. You can see that there's a dovetailed piece that comes off the front. And what that's going to do is you can take the sole, this happens to be the piece that we're going to be using, and you're going to just, see if I can do this upside down for you. You're just going to slide the iron into place, and then you'll just screw it down, and it locks down into this channel. So it's automatically aligned as far as side to side, and it won't move. It'll just move front to back. Now what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and stick the back on as well. The back, you just loosen it up a little bit further so that you can pivot the thing. And then, again, trying to do this backwards. I am using my left hand far too much in this video. There we go. Well, maybe it'll make me ambidextrous, and that is not a bad thing. There we go. So now we fitted the sole. Now the blade itself is kind of intriguing. What they've done with the blade is that both ends of the blade are honed for the specific profile. Now granted, this is just a simple rounded profile, but there are some, such as the multi-bead that I have hiding back here. Now this is obviously a much more complicated profile. This is a multi-bead. It'll actually put, I believe, 8 beads down all in one shot, and it makes for a beautiful pattern, especially if you go to repeat it across a panel board. I've made some mirrors with this, and actually on my blog you'll see an entry on making mirror frames with that. But both ends are honed, so it makes it nice that once you've got this thing honed, you can pop it into the plane, go until it gets dull, and then just flip the blade around. And because of the position marker that's used to hold the blade in place, as long as you've been honing both sides equally, you should be set at the same depth. So inserting this blade, these are bevel down planes, which throws me off because almost all my other planes are bevel up. You'll slide it down from the top, get it till you get it to an indexing pin where it's going to hold the blade. Now there's also a channel that this blade is going to be sitting in. So basically once you get it into that position and you tighten this down, it's going to snap itself in the channel and it'll be in the correct position down below. Now obviously this projection is too far, so we'll just pull that back a bit. We're going to close up the throat, just loosen that up, and you can slide it forward till you get just as much throat as you want. That looks about good. Now the key is on the back, right? If I put it back here, that blade has no support. You're going to get a lot of chatter. So the idea is after you've positioned the blade in there, you just push this up till it hits the back and then tighten it into place. Now you're going to have a nice solid blade and you got the profile to go. Now, explaining it takes a lot longer than simply doing it once you get used to it. The plane kit comes with some extra posts that you can put onto the side. You screw these in. And then there's a fence kit. Now this fence kit has a number of different fences that we can attach on here. All of these will simply slide over these posts. So of course here's just a plain square one. This is for just being like a regular edge guide. Whereas this one here acts as an angle, so it's going to get you at a 45-degree angle. Now that's actually what you would want to use on this corner piece if you had a large surface that you could run on. In our case, we're running on these little tiny boards. So this is going to be an extra little challenge, but that's actually why it's more fun, right? So the fence is actually not going to be used in this case here. What we are going to do is we're simply going to run it on basically the side of this profile until we've planed it away, and then the other side of the board touches the other side of the profile. We'll just go and do that on all these boards, and it goes fairly quickly. Oh. So now that the side pieces of the boxes have been planed and they've been profiled, these have been cut to length. The longer pieces are already cut to their pretty much final length. The shorter pieces are actually kind of all random right now. They're going to be cut more later when I get to doing the joinery. But in the meantime, what I want to do is I want to try putting the dado groove on the inside. So the profile goes towards the inside, and there's going to be a dado groove along the bottom here to accept the panel. Now the panel, you saw I flattened that. I have not cut this to size yet since I need the groove in there to figure out exactly what size I need. So that's what I'd like to do now. And to put the dado in, I'm going to use the JMPv2 plane with a different profile. And the profile for that is a dado profile. You can see that the base of this is for a 1/4 inch dado. So as the plane starts to plow through and create the dado, this is going to ride into the dado to give you just excellent traction on staying straight on that. The first couple passes, of course, you can drift just like you can with any plane, but with this one here, it'll start to grab that track and stick with it. And the toe has an equivalent on there as well. Now, this is a double scoring blade that you can install. You install this into the toe. Whoops. There's a little hole there. You can see the slot on the side. So this is going to install into that hole. And when it sticks out, you're going to be able to set this as a pre-scoring blade. So you're going to score both sides of your dado. So now that that's in place, I'm going to be getting double scoring on either side of that groove, which is going to make for a nice clean cut. Now here's a little piece of scrap that we can just see how this is going to go once we put the fence on. So these pins are removable. You can put them on either side. There we go. Now for this, I would like a little table. So I'm going to set something up so I can plane on the other thing, and we'll get this thing a try. So this is a board I use often for planing thin boards. As you saw when I was doing this panel earlier, I had it on this side of the board. This is only a little under 1/4 inch thick, and this side here being a little about 1/4 inch thick. So I just use this as a stop and plane to it. So that's what I'm going to use for planing these small parts. I'll just stick it here over the edge so I can get my fence lined up to it, and we'll see how this goes. This is a really bad piece of scrap, so we'll see if I have enough to hang on to. So, and the first pass is really going to do more of a scoring, and then after that we can go get that down further. Okay, let's see if this is going to show up on the camera. Alright, we changed the focus a little bit so you could see that, but you can see on the very first pass, I mean, of course, it took a little bit of the dado, but it's very clean. Even where I started over the knot, it scored it and then it pulled off a little bit of a shaving, so let's continue on a little further. Of course, I had to pick a dado right over the knot, but that's okay. But it works fantastic for doing the dado, so now we're going to go ahead and do the real deal. So I've gone through and put the dados on all of these, all the grooves rather. This one here, what I wanted to show, what's nice about this base, is that I only plane these down to a point where, okay, it's deep enough that I have a groove. I don't care about the specific depth in this case because I'm going to cut that panel afterwards anyway. Now if it turns out one of these grooves isn't as deep as I'd like, and again, I'm going shallow intentionally, what I can do is just replane it. Now normally you'd have to set this aside, make sure the fence doesn't get touched or moved, but what's nice about this plane with the base that it has is that it's very easy to take this fence off, and I can just go put this away and actually take the blade out and swap it for that matter. Because when I come back to it and I want to make this a little bit deeper, well, I already have this great groove, this great ridge that's going to ride right into that groove. So I can't miss. So basically just hold it there and go. Which is good for this one here because I had a little bit of a knot at the other end and I didn't go quite as deep as I should have. So it's really nice that you can do some simple touch-up like that without actually having to set everything up or worry about losing your settings. Now I need to make the mitered box that's going to go on the inside. Now, again, there's going to be one box that's mitered and the other box is going to be dovetailed. So we're going to take care of the mitered one right now. And what I need to do is, these have already been cut to the width, the front back width. So if I put these in there and take a measurement, if I can get them in there, there we go. And we take a measurement, it turns out that we have 8 inches of space left. And that'll leave a little bit of a gap, because there's going to be about 1/8 of an inch to shuffle back and forth. So that'll be fine. So with 8, we'll just make these 4 inches long on the miter. So 2 of these are going to need to get a miter on their ends, and 2 of these are going to need to get miters on their ends. So I'll set these other ones aside before I accidentally make additional miters, and then we end up mitering all the boxes. Now I spent a little bit of time verifying the calibration, because on a small box like this, that angle is off a little bit. We're so close, there's no way that you can kind of bend the side or bow a side in any way like that to make up for a bad angle. So I calibrated it really quickly to verify. What I'll do is, on the long ones, I'll do these long ones first. So in a way this was regrettable. One thing that I did that in retrospect is probably a mistake. I should have left these a little bit on the long side as well. I jumped the gun and I had cut them to the exact size. So what I need to do now is I need to put the miters right on the end. So a small mistake, I wasn't paying attention, I did it and I thought, oh, oops. So let's go ahead and cut these. So now I have to be careful in the sense that I have to put it right on the end. Let me use one of these blocks here. It'll actually be kind of nice to be able to get a little bit more pressure down here without squeezing my fingers in there. That's where I want it. Alright. One down. Let me bring you in for the other cuts. What I'm making sure of here is that the blade is going to enter right at the corner. Again, this was my mistake when I did this. So now I have to be careful to make up for it. Sometimes when I pay attention to what I'm saying to the camera, I don't pay attention to what I'm doing here. Alright, so now we're going to want to go and do the other corner.